Alright, so last year I got this torture box woman from Party City. It was one of the display models, and Party City closed down, so they're trying to get rid of everything. So got this one, and there's quite a few things wrong with it. The hot glue is not held up on any of the clothing. The mask is all just popped off because of the glue. And along with that, here in the back, there's some broken wiring, which see right in there, the wiring has snapped off their attachments. So what we're gonna do today is redo all this and fix it up. All right, so hopping straight into it. First thing that I noticed, there was an issue, the head wasn't rotating because the connection right here to the motor was broken. I labeled it red and black so I know which one to put in. So basically I'm just gonna pop off all of this hot glue right here. Once that's done, I'm gonna add the wires. I gotta strip them of their leads right here. So that's just the metal. Pop them in there and that'll be good. All right, so turns out that this little lead right here actually needs to be soldered back together. So I'm gonna finish working off all this hot glue. Once this is off, I'll get my soldering iron out and we'll solder these guys back together, to which we'll finish with some electrical tape or shrink wraps. Alright, so now to help solidify everything that we did over here, to keep these two welds separated, we're going to take the hot glue gun and we're going to do a little dab right on them, all around. I hope that all stay compact. You take your fingers and tap it all together. Now when this dries, it'll be all fine. And we have re-secured that connection. So I'm gonna go test it later. It should work. Up next is a headpiece. So this little clear piece right here is popped out of these due to the glue not sticking and melting. So to secure it, we're gonna glue in all of these edges all along up here and down here. And then we're gonna pull it up with this tape and it's gonna secure to the sides. So let's get to it. Alright, for now, this last bit, we're just gonna be touching up the clothing. There's a bit of peeling on it, so we're gonna redo the glue over there, reapply, and tuck it in. And we'll toss them all together and do a demonstration. After doing a bit of tinkering, I've learned that there's a rubber band in here that has popped off the pulley system. So when I plug it in, I hear the motor going, which means that everything's working internally, except for this one pulley. So I'm gonna take this apart, I'm gonna replace the rubber band, and that should fix it up. After taking off that first panel, I've now revealed the second one, which I'm about to pop off. Once we take this off, we'll have a better look at the mechanism, and from there we can just fix it up however it needs to be fixed. Here we go, about to pop this piece off right now. Now a big thing to note is remember how you took it apart so that you know how to put it back together. You want everything to go back to the exact same place. So as I slowly take this off, there's a lot of resistance. Oh, I know why that resistance is. This motor right here needs to come out because there's a mechanism on the inside that is connected to this. This is secured in such a way so that it can't be taken apart without this coming off. Now once this motor is out, I'll pull this piece out and there's going to be a little gear bit on this. If it's not a gear bit, it's going to be a little pulley system. And now once this is off, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. A lot of these props usually use the same kind of mechanism, same kind of configuration. So if you could replace one thing on one prop, you could come back and sort of diagnose and fix other props. And here we go. Take this piece off. So we wiggle it free. Notice there's a lot of hot glue on here. That's how they hold it together. There we go. This little piece just came off. As you see, there's nothing on this end, which means that something is falling off in here. Let's take this off. Remember how all the gears are configured. Let's see. Everything in here is fine. It's all lubed up. Which now concludes that there's a piece somewhere even further down in here that has something wrong with it. So now let's try to figure that out together. So as of now, we're just taking off all of these little rivets. Once these screws are off, I'll pop this piece off. And then the head piece, which is actually hot glued and stapled together, we'll have to take that apart and then rebuild it later on. All right, all these pieces are off. Pop this guy off. All right, now that we have all this off, you can see that all this is now held together with just hot glue. So, in this case, hot glue can be taken off with a heat gun. Now these get very hot. They're also pretty cheap to get. Just go to Walmart or somewhere. You're gonna turn it on, and you're not gonna really melt anything. You're just gonna slowly heat up certain areas. Now, while these areas are slowly heating up, what you're gonna do is you're gonna take a knife or some kind of flathead, and you're gonna pry out the glue as you do it. So I'm gonna take this, slowly melt it. I can see it starting to melt as it glistens a little bit more. Turn that off, set that down. Take my knife, wedge it in. Slowly follow through. So I've got this little section off. Which has allowed me to get under everything else right there. Cool. Now with that, everything else is kind of coming into place. And there we go. All right, cool. So it is wired on the inside, so these wires are still going to be connected. But the headpiece, I'll just pop out together. So now in here, see there's more screws that are a little bit harder to get to. We're going to have to take these out because the issue lies in here. Ooh, look at that. It looks like a big crack down there. All right, let's see what we can do to fix this. Yep, right there. This is a crack, which should not be there. All right, so taking apart, I can see two issues here. Number one, there is no rubber band on this pulley system. This was directly attached to the motor down here, this. So that means that you see this motor, when I pulled it out, there was nothing on it. Because this spindle right here snapped in half. So that's one issue. So I'll have to replace the spindle on this guy. But along with that, this piece right here is cracked. Now, depending on how you want to fix the issue, simple glue, super glue would fix this. But if you want a more permanent solution, you can 3D model and 3D print this. Now I'm on a bit of a time crunch, so I'm not going to do that right now. I have the software to do it. Just use Inventor Pro or AutoCAD, and you can model this up. This is a pretty simple piece. However, like I said, don't have time, so I'm going to do some super glue and fix this up by myself. And I'll show you how to add on that spindle and the new rubber band. Yep. All right, guys, little did I know that one piece being cracked was a bit of an issue. So came back and now I'm 3D modeling it. Once I'm done having this modeled, I'll print it all up and we'll be good to go from there. All right, I've just wrapped up my 3D modeling, so this is the end result. I just gotta print this up, then I'll pop it into the piece. Here's the 3D file all sliced up and tossed it over to the printer. So over here, it's almost done printing. Here's a new piece. All I have to do is pop it in the mechanism and it'll be good to go. So we're adding the spindle on right here. I got this from a Skull Crane Animatronic kit, which I will link below. I'm gonna take the spindle we're gonna pop it on here. Now, it's gonna be hard because it's all lubricated. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna wedge it in a little bit. Then I'm gonna take a table or some kind of hard surface and pop it in. Uh-oh. Just as so. Now once that's in, it's set. We're good to go. Now while doing that, oddly enough, this little wire here just snapped off. Why? Because this is cheap Chinese crap. Alright, so now I'm going to have to re-solder this together. Also, you can see there, it's all just hot glue. So I'm going to solder this back on, and I'll be back with you. Alright, and now to solidify everything that we just did over here, take a hot glue gun, we're just going to dap it up, because once this all goes back in, this is a violent mechanism, so there's a chance that these could be snagged out. So it doesn't hurt to just be a little safe with these, especially because the welds were so hard to get on. There we go. So now all together we have this, along with our spindle, now back on that. And along with all that, we have the new rubber band, which we're going to be attaching to the spindle and eventually the mechanism once we get to putting it all back together. All right, now wrapping it all back up. I've put everything back in its proper place in here. Gotta slowly pop it all back in. Once it's all back in, we can screw it back together. All right, now everything's going to be put back together. Just going to pop some screws in, and I'll add the rubber band in. So I have these two on. So they'll be configured back together. Now for the band, you want it to have the proper amount of tension, so you're going to have to play around with the size, but I found this size is good for this mechanism, because once you pop this in, pop it back in over here, the rubber band fits perfectly in between all the grooves in there. So now when I plug this in, the motor, everything will spin properly. This mechanism right here, this is going to spin, and that will rotate the head based on this motor, which spins this. All the gears on the inside move, this moves and this rotates. Now, like I said, this was cracked before, but I did put some, not hot glue, but super glue to fix the seam in there. That's going to dry for a bit, and I'll crack it all back together, and then I'll give you a demonstration. All right, and here we go. The torture box woman get all pieced back together. So in total, there's about 4 fixes I had to do. This plastic piece popped off, had to put that back on. The welds on the inside of these LEDs cracked off, so I had to redo those inside of the compartment down here. Along with that, the actual mechanism itself had 3, sorry. So the spindle itself was broken. Don't know how that happened, but it was broken. Along with that, the rubber band was just straight up gone. So I had to replace the spindle and the rubber band. And then that one cracked piece that I had to 3D print, had to 3D model that and print that up. In all, this probably took like 5 hours. Honestly, it took a lot of time, but this is such a cool prop, especially it's gonna fit in with my horror theme this year. This will be part of my jigsaw area, so if you're a Saw fan, make sure to stay tuned because I'm gonna have a lot in store. Thank you guys, and hope you have a good day.
Make sure to like and subscribe.